Imagine standing at the edge of your life's turning point where everything behind you whispers of pain, failure, or loss, and everything ahead is wrapped in uncertainty. Your chest tightens, your doubts scream louder than your heartbeat, and for a moment you wonder if you'll ever make it through. This is the place where most people give up. But hidden inside this very moment, the breaking point is the spark of transformation. It's where weakness turns to strength, where endings ignite beginnings, and where the version of you that survives will be nothing like the one that almost gave up. There comes a moment in life when you feel like everything has collapsed. The weight of failure, heartbreak, or betrayal crushes your chest, and you can't breathe the same way anymore. You look at the ruins of what used to be your life, and there's this silence inside you, a silence that feels heavier than noise. It's not the kind of silence that comforts, it's the kind that makes you wonder if you even exist anymore. You wake up and the mirror doesn't reflect possibility. It reflects a version of you that's been broken, used, and left behind. And in that moment, the question arises, not how to win again, not how to conquer mountains, not even how to reach the stars. The question is simpler, but far more terrifying. Can I get up from here? That's the battle most people never talk about. The courage to start over isn't glamorous. It doesn't come with applause or spotlight. It's the rawest, most personal war you'll ever fight, because starting again means admitting something ended. It means acknowledging that a chapter has closed, that a dream didn't unfold the way you thought it would, that the people you trusted may not walk with you anymore. Beginning again feels like tearing open a wound that never had the chance to heal, and yet it's the bravest act you'll ever commit. You see, most people confuse survival with living. You can stay down, you can accept the wreckage, you can learn to breathe in the ashes and call it life, but deep down you know that's not living, that's surrender. And your soul was not built to surrender. It was built to rise again and again, no matter how brutal the fall. The first step to begin again is not about strength, it's about honesty. Honesty with yourself that you are not finished, that despite the losses, despite the exhaustion, despite the nights you thought would end you, you are still here. And being here means the story is not over. The world may want to write you off, but the pen is still in your hands. It's terrifying, isn't it? To think about rebuilding when you don't even feel whole. To imagine walking forward when your legs still tremble from the collapse. But here's the truth. You don't have to rebuild the entire future today. You only have to take one step. One decision to rise instead of staying buried. One whisper of courage against the roar of doubt. That's how it begins. Not with a grand plan, but with the smallest act of defiance against despair. And when you do, something shifts. The ground beneath you that once felt like a grave starts to feel like soil. Soil you can plant something new in, soil that might one day hold roots, strength, and life again. What once felt like the end begins to resemble a foundation. And isn't that what courage really is? Not the absence of fear, but the decision to move even while fear still has its claws in you. Think back to the times you thought you'd never recover. The heartbreak that convinced you love was done. The failure that whispered your worth was gone. The loss that left you hollow. Yet somehow you're still here, breathing, listening, waiting for what's next. That proves something. You've already survived everything that was designed to break you. And if you survived that, what makes you think you can't begin again? The courage to begin again is the refusal to let endings define you. It's the belief that you are more than what you lost, more than what you failed, more than what others walked away from. Every new beginning comes disguised as grief, but hidden beneath the grief is the seed of rebirth. You may not see it yet. You may not feel it yet. But when you choose to rise, that seed cracks open. It doesn't bloom instantly. It fights its way through the dirt, just like you will. But once it grows, it becomes something stronger than what was lost. Starting over doesn't erase the past. It transforms it. The pain becomes the ink that writes your next chapter. The scars become proof of survival. The silence becomes space for new voices to enter. And you become someone different. Someone you wouldn't have recognized before the fall. Someone braver, deeper, more alive. But here's the thing you must understand. No one will hand you the courage to begin again. No one can rise for you. No one can carry the weight of your pain but you. People may cheer you on, or they may doubt you. They may walk with you, or they may leave you behind. But at the end of the day, it is you who must decide. Will you stay down in the ruins, or will you stand, even if your legs shake, even if your heart trembles? Because every victory you dream of, every breakthrough, every triumph, every peace you long for rests on this decision: to rise, to stand, to walk forward into a future you cannot yet see, but one that is waiting for you all the same. And when you do, when you take that trembling step into the unknown, you discover something extraordinary. The moment you begin again, life begins again with you. Opportunities you never imagined appear, strength you didn't know you had rises inside you. And slowly, day by day, you start to see that beginning again was not the end of who you were. It was the birth of who you were always meant to become. So if you are standing in the ruins, if your life feels shattered, remember this: the mountain ahead is not your first challenge. Your first challenge is the ground beneath you. Will you rise from it? Will you claim the courage to begin again? Because if you do, everything that comes after will no longer be built on fear or doubt. It will be built on the unshakable truth that you refuse to stay broken. And that truth, that courage, will become the foundation for every victory still to come. There are days when you wake up and the weight of everything presses down before you even take your first breath. Days when getting out of bed feels heavier than lifting a mountain. When even the smallest task feels like dragging yourself through mud. No one sees those days. No one applauds you for brushing your teeth when your mind is screaming, or for showing up to work when your heart feels empty. But those invisible choices, those quiet, uncelebrated victories, are where the real battle is fought. Because greatness isn't found in sudden leaps. It isn't in one shining moment where the world finally notices you. It's in the endless repetition of showing up when your body says no, when your heart says it doesn't matter, when the silence convinces you that no one would care if you gave up. That's where greatness is carved. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows where only you know what it took to keep moving. Discipline is not glamorous. It doesn't feel like fire or lightning. It feels like weight. It feels like chains sometimes. It feels like doing the same thing again and again, even when you'd rather collapse. But discipline is the anchor that keeps you steady in a storm that wants to drag you under. Without it, you drift. Without it, every setback pulls you further away from who you could be. With it, you hold steady even if the progress is slow, even if no one notices. And maybe that's the hardest part. No one sees the hours you put in when everyone else is asleep. No one notices the battles you win when the audience is gone. They see the results years later, when you finally rise above the noise, but they'll never know that the transformation came from moments that looked insignificant to everyone but you. That's why the discipline of daily battles matters. Because discipline is not about perfection, it's about persistence. It's not about moving fast. It's about moving forward, no matter the pace. You may feel exhausted. You may feel invisible. But every time you push yourself to take that next step, you're building something far stronger than motivation. You're building consistency. And consistency is what forges transformation. Think about it. You don't suddenly wake up strong, healed, or successful. You wake up broken, tired, doubtful, and you still choose to act. One workout, one decision to eat better, one choice to say no when temptation whispers, one step forward when yesterday felt like the end. Those small, invisible choices pile up like bricks, and over time they build walls strong enough to hold your entire future. It's hard because discipline is silent. It doesn't reward you immediately. It doesn't give you applause. It just demands every day that you show up again and again and again, until eventually you realize that the person you became was shaped not by the easy days, but by the days when you wanted to quit and didn't. This is why so many people fall. They wait for inspiration. They wait for motivation to strike like lightning. But lightning doesn't build anything. Lightning burns and disappears. Discipline is different. It's slow, it's steady, it's the hammer that shapes you, the grindstone that sharpens you. Discipline is boring, but it's in that boredom that transformation hides. You might wonder if it's worth it, if the endless repetition, the invisible sacrifices, the lonely nights of persistence are building anything at all. And I'll tell you this, every single battle you fight in silence counts. Every time you resist giving up, every time you choose structure over chaos, you're teaching yourself something that no failure can erase. You are capable of consistency. You are capable of building something out of nothing. The truth is, doubt will never leave you. Exhaustion will always come back. You will have mornings when your body aches to rest, nights when your mind screams that you're wasting your time. But discipline isn't about how you feel. Discipline is about what you choose. The world will try to tell you that emotions should lead. But if you let exhaustion, fear, or self-pity steer you, you will drift into regret. Discipline says, feel what you feel, but do what you must. And that is what builds greatness, not the fire of passion, not the fleeting spark of motivation, but the unshakable commitment to act even when the fire goes out. That's why people who seem ordinary can achieve extraordinary things, not because they were stronger, not because they were smarter, but because they decided they would keep showing up when others walked away. So here's what you must remember. The daily battles are not small. They are not meaningless. They are the foundation of transformation. Every time you hold yourself accountable, you prove to yourself that you are not ruled by weakness. Every time you choose structure over chaos, you remind yourself that you are not powerless. And every time you show up in silence, you build a kind of strength that nothing can shake. There will come a day when all those invisible choices add up. You won't see it at first. You'll just feel a little stronger, a little calmer, a little more in control. And then one day someone will look at you and call you resilient, disciplined, unstoppable. But you will know the truth. It wasn't one leap, one breakthrough, one miracle. It was thousands of tiny, quiet victories. Victories no one celebrated but you. And when that day comes, you'll realize something powerful. The discipline of daily battles was never just about achievement. It was about identity. It was about proving to yourself that you can be counted on even by you. And once you build that trust within yourself, nothing, no failure, no rejection, no setback can take it away. So when the doubt comes, when the exhaustion weighs you down, remember this: you don't need to win the whole war today. You just need to win the battle in front of you. Because discipline is not about changing your life in a moment. It's about proving moment by moment that you have the strength to keep going. And if you keep going, if you keep choosing to fight those small, quiet battles, you will wake up one day and realize that the person you've become is unrecognizable. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because you built yourself through the hardest days. That is the discipline of daily battles. And that is how the smallest victories become the foundation of unimaginable transformation. There are moments in life when pain feels like it swallows you whole. It doesn't knock politely. It invades, it claws, it burns everything you thought was safe. You lose someone you love, you watch a dream collapse, you face betrayal from the very place you thought you were protected. Pain doesn't ask permission. It simply arrives, and suddenly the ground beneath you is gone. You feel like you're falling endlessly with nothing to hold on to. And in that free fall, your mind screams one question: why me? Why this heartbreak? Why this loss? Why this wound I never asked for? It's here where most people either break or harden into someone they no longer recognize. Because pain is a crossroads. It can define you or it can refine you. It can poison your spirit or it can forge it. The choice isn't in whether pain comes. It always will. The choice is what you do with it when it does. You see, pain is not punishment. It feels like it, yes. It feels like life is singling you out, like the universe has decided you are the one to suffer. But in reality, pain is the rawest material for growth. It is the fire that burns away illusions, exposing the parts of you that cannot be destroyed. Every scar you carry is evidence that you walked through the fire and lived. And inside those scars is a power that can't be learned from comfort or safety. When you're in it, though, it doesn't feel like power. It feels like drowning. Like the weight is too much to bear. You wonder if you'll ever breathe normally again, if you'll ever laugh without that tightness in your chest. But look closer. The pain that suffocates you also forces you to fight for air. And in that fight, strength is born. You don't notice it in the moment. You only feel the sting, the ache, the endless nights of silence. But every day you endure, every breath you force yourself to take, you are becoming someone stronger than you've ever been. Think of the times you thought you couldn't go on. The heartbreak that hollowed you out, the betrayal that left you bleeding inside, the failure that convinced you your worth was gone, and yet you're still here. That means something. That means your pain didn't bury you. It shaped you. It carved resilience into your bones. It gave you a depth that only suffering could. People who've never felt true pain may look whole on the outside, but they lack the fire you carry. They lack the unshakable knowledge that you can survive what should have destroyed you. Pain refines you when you refuse to let it turn you bitter, when instead of asking, "Why me?" you begin to ask, "What now?" Because the truth is, the wound doesn't disappear. The memory doesn't erase itself. The scars remain. But scars are not chains. They are proof of survival, proof that you can bleed and still rise, proof that the world threw its worst at you, and you are still standing. And from that proof, from that evidence, comes power. Power is not always loud. It's not about dominance or control. Power is sitting with your pain, acknowledging it, and then choosing to build with it instead of letting it break you. Power is looking at the ashes of what was and daring to plant something new. Power is saying, "Yes, I was wounded. Yes, I was broken. But I will not stay broken. I will rise with this scar as part of me." That's what most people miss. They believe healing means erasing pain, pretending it never happened. But true healing is transformation. It's alchemy. It's taking what once crushed you and turning it into the very force that drives you. Pain becomes fuel. Every rejection becomes energy to keep pushing. Every loss becomes wisdom to guide your steps. Every failure becomes a reminder that you can rebuild. When you allow pain to fuel you, nothing is wasted, not even the worst nights of your life. And it is in this transformation that you discover something extraordinary. The pain that once felt like an ending was actually a beginning. It stripped you down to your core, and in that emptiness, you found your true strength. It pushed you to places you never would have gone, to depths of yourself you never would have explored. It showed you the parts of you that are unbreakable. Yes, you will always remember what hurt you. The betrayal, the loss, the loneliness, it lingers. But instead of being haunted, you can choose to be fueled. Instead of carrying it as a wound, you can carry it as armor. And when new storms come, and they always will stand taller, not because you are untouched, but because you are tested. So here's the truth. Pain will come. It will scar you. It will strip you. It will force you to your knees. But it will also hand you a choice. Will you let this define you as broken or refine you into someone unstoppable? Will you let the wound chain you, or will you wear the scar as proof that you endured? Because pain is not the end. Pain is the furnace. And if you let it, that furnace will forge you into something you never imagined you could be. Stronger, deeper, more alive. Not in spite of your pain, but because of it. So when pain visits you, and it will, don't waste it. Don't let it make you bitter, small, or defeated. Let it refine you. Let it sharpen you. Let it be the raw material that fuels your rise. Because one day you'll look back at the moments that nearly destroyed you and realize they were the very moments that made you. And that realization, that transformation is how pain becomes power. There are times in life when you will look around and realize no one believes in you. Not your friends, not your family, not the people you thought would never leave your side. You speak of your dreams, your vision, your desire to rise, and their silence cuts deeper than any insult. Their doubts echo louder than your own heartbeat. You begin to wonder if maybe they're right. Maybe you're not enough. Maybe you've been foolish to think you could become something more. And yet, in that moment of isolation, one truth remains: the world's belief in you has never been the deciding factor. The only belief that truly matters is the one you hold within yourself. Because when everything outside you is crumbling, when evidence points against you, when doubt wraps around your throat like a chain, the only thing that keeps you standing is that unshakable conviction inside. I will not give in. It's not blind hope. It isn't daydreaming or wishing life into being. Belief is the force that drags you out of bed when failure whispers that nothing will change. It's the voice inside you that refuses to be silenced, even when logic says quit. Belief is the refusal to surrender, even when you don't yet see the proof. It is a weapon sharper than fear, stronger than rejection, and once you wield it, no storm can strip it away. But belief is hard, because before it becomes strength, it feels like madness. When you decide to keep walking when everyone else has stopped, you look insane. When you build toward a dream that no one else can see, you feel foolish. The world will laugh, point, and remind you of every reason you should give up. And yet, that's exactly where relentless belief begins, when you're willing to stand alone in your conviction, even if the whole world turns its back. Think of the moments in your life when you doubted yourself most, the exam you thought you couldn't pass, the job you believed you weren't qualified for, the heartbreak that convinced you you'd never heal, and still you did. You passed, you overcame, you rebuilt. That wasn't luck. That was belief, buried so deep inside you that even when you didn't recognize it, it carried you forward. Fear thrives in the absence of belief. When you don't believe in yourself, fear has complete control. It whispers louder, grows stronger, and paralyzes you until you're frozen in place. But when belief enters, fear begins to shrink, because belief says, even if I'm afraid, I will move anyway. Even if I stumble, I will rise again. Even if no one else stands with me, I will not abandon myself. That's what relentless belief really is. It's loyalty to yourself. It's refusing to abandon your own soul, even when it would be easier to give in. It's choosing to stand in the fire, not because you enjoy the flames, but because you know the fire is the only thing that can forge you. And the more you practice this, the stronger you become. At first, your belief feels fragile. You carry it like glass, terrified it will shatter with every rejection. But over time, as you prove yourself to yourself, that belief turns to steel. Each obstacle you face and overcome hardens it. Each time you rise when you thought you couldn't, your conviction deepens. And eventually, belief becomes unbreakable. Not because the world validates it, but because you have lived through too much to let it go. People will always doubt what they cannot see. They cannot see your heart. They cannot see the vision burning inside you. They cannot hear the whispers that call you toward something greater. That is why their doubt cannot matter more than your own belief. They are blind to what you carry. But you are not. You know the fire inside. You know the voice that refuses to be silenced. And you know no matter how many times you fall, that something in you will always rise again. Relentless belief does not mean you will not face failure. You will, many times. But belief turns failure into fuel. Every time you stumble, every time you're rejected, every time someone points at you and says you can't, belief takes those words, those wounds, and uses them to push you further. Without belief, failure ends you. With belief, failure builds you. And one day you will see what relentless belief creates. You'll look back and realize that the person you are now was born not from comfort, not from validation, but from the moments when you were alone, afraid, and still chose to keep going. That's when you built the muscle that no one can strip away, the muscle of conviction. So yes, the world may doubt you. Yes, evidence may point against you. Yes, fear will always linger at the edges of your mind. But relentless belief silences them all, not by eliminating doubt, but by rising above it. Not by erasing fear, but by walking forward with it. Not by demanding proof, but by becoming the proof. Because in the end, belief is not about convincing others. It's not about proving your worth to those who left you. It's about standing in front of your own reflection and knowing no matter how many storms come, no matter how many nights of doubt try to swallow me, I will not abandon myself. And when you reach that point, when your belief in yourself is stronger than every voice that tells you to stop, you become unstoppable. Not because life suddenly gets easier, but because you finally understand belief is the weapon that defeats fear. Life has a way of testing you in ways you never imagined. One day, everything feels steady. You're breathing, you're moving, you think you finally have control. Then suddenly, without warning, the storm comes. The phone call in the middle of the night. The betrayal you never saw coming. The dream that shatters in your hands before it even begins. Storms don't knock politely. They tear through your life, ripping away the safety you thought you had. And as you stand there in the chaos, you feel powerless. Like the wind is stronger than your will. Like the rain is heavier than your hope. Like the ground itself has betrayed you. It's in that moment you ask yourself, how much more can I take? How many times can I be knocked down before I can't rise again? How many times can the storm hit before it finally breaks me? But here's what you don't see in the middle of the storm. Storms are not sent to destroy you. They strip away what cannot withstand the wind. They tear down illusions, weak foundations, shallow roots. What remains? The part of you that survives is the truest, strongest version of yourself. Storms are brutal, yes, but they are also honest. They reveal what is fragile and what is unbreakable. Resilience isn't about pretending the storm doesn't hurt. It does. It soaks you, chills you, bruises you. Resilience isn't about never falling. You will fall. You will collapse under the weight of exhaustion, grief, and fear. True resilience is about rising every single time. It's about crawling back to your feet even when the ground feels like it's swallowing you. It's about whispering not yet when everything inside you wants to scream, I'm done. The scars storms leave behind are not marks of weakness. They are symbols of survival. They are the proof that you endured what should have broken you. Too often we hide our scars, ashamed of what they reveal. But what if those scars are not shame at all? What if they are maps etched into your skin and soul, reminding you where you've been and what you've overcome? When you stop hiding your scars, you begin to see them for what they are, evidence of strength. Resilience doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in chaos. It grows when everything you depended on is stripped away and you're forced to discover the core of who you really are. The storm is cruel, but it is also the furnace where your endurance is forged. Every time you rise after being knocked down, you teach yourself something unshakable. I can survive this too. Think back to the hardest season of your life, the one you thought you wouldn't make it through. Maybe it was the loss of someone you couldn't imagine living without. Maybe it was the betrayal that left you questioning your worth. Maybe it was the failure that convinced you you were finished. And yet, look at you now. You made it through. Bruised, scarred, changed, but alive. That's resilience, not perfection, not untouched, but unbroken. The storm forces you to rebuild. Sometimes it destroys everything you thought mattered, and you're left staring at ruins. That's when resilience whispers, start again, not with what you lost, but with what you've learned. And that's where real strength is found, not in holding on to what the storm took, but in building something stronger from what it left behind. Every storm you survive reshapes you. At first you resist. You want life to go back to what it was. But resilience doesn't look backward. It looks forward. It doesn't cling to what was torn away. It plants roots in the wreckage and begins again. Slowly, painfully, you discover that you are no longer the same person who first walked into the storm. You are harder to break now. Your foundation is deeper. Your vision is clearer. You carry scars not as burdens, but as reminders of what you've endured. And here's the hidden gift. Resilience is contagious. When others see your scars, when they witness how you endured, they find the courage to rise from their own storms. Your survival becomes someone else's hope. The storm that almost destroyed you becomes the story that saves another. That's the quiet power of resilience. It doesn't just change you, it changes everyone who sees you refuse to give up. But you must make a choice. Storms will always come. You can let them crush you, or you can let them refine you. You can live in fear of the next gust of wind, or you can stand tall knowing that whatever comes, you've faced worse and survived. Resilience doesn't promise that storms won't return. It promises that no storm will ever define you again. So when the next storm comes, and you'll feel the wind, you'll hear the thunder, and you'll remember every scar you carry. You'll remember every night you thought would end you but didn't. You'll remember that the storm is loud, but you are louder, and you'll rise again, not because you are unshaken, but because you refuse to stay down. The storms of life are brutal. They strip, they scar, they shatter, but they also reveal. They show you that you are stronger than the ground that gave way beneath you. They teach you that scars are not shame, but symbols. They remind you that resilience is not about never falling. It's about rising every single time. And when you rise, when you stand again soaked, scarred, and trembling, you will realize something extraordinary. The storm never had the power to destroy you. It only had the power to strip away what was never meant to stay. That realization, that moment when you understand you are unbreakable, is the true definition of resilience in the storm. There is a place inside you that craves comfort. It pulls you toward routines that feel safe, choices that feel familiar, habits that demand little of you. Comfort whispers that you've done enough, that you deserve to rest, that the safest way to live is to avoid the risk of failure. And for a while it feels good. The warmth of routine, the ease of repetition, the security of knowing exactly what tomorrow will look like. But slowly, almost without noticing, that comfort begins to shrink you. You stop reaching, you stop daring, you stop stepping into the unknown. The life that once felt safe starts to feel like a cage. The walls are invisible, but they're real. You can sense them pressing in. You wake up one day and realize that while nothing has hurt you, nothing has changed you either. Growth doesn't exist in comfort. It exists where discomfort lives. It exists in the stretch, the uncertainty, the risk. Growth is born in the places that make you question yourself, where you sweat, stumble, and doubt if you belong. And that is why most people never grow. They choose the illusion of safety over the reality of transformation. The truth is, comfort silently kills your potential. It doesn't strike like lightning. It doesn't crash like thunder. It seeps in quietly. It convinces you to stay where you are because at least you won't fall. But what it hides from you is that you won't rise either. And slowly, the version of yourself that could have been, the stronger, bolder, wiser version, begins to wither. You've felt it, haven't you? That restlessness inside, the tension between who you are and who you know you could be. It's the quiet ache that comfort cannot silence. You tell yourself you're fine, but somewhere deep down you know you're meant for more. That feeling is not weakness. It is your soul begging you to step out of comfort and into growth. But stepping into growth is terrifying because it demands risk, it demands sacrifice. It demands you leave behind the walls that once felt safe and walk into territory where failure is possible. Growth feels like exposure, like standing on a stage with no script, no armor, no guarantee. You will feel vulnerable. You will question if you have what it takes. And that's exactly why it works. Because growth doesn't come to those who stay safe. It comes to those who dare to stretch. Think about the moments in your life when you changed the most. It wasn't when things were easy. It wasn't when you had every answer. It was when you were forced out of comfort. When you took a job you weren't sure you were ready for. When you spoke the truth even though your voice shook. When you chose to walk away from something familiar because you knew it no longer aligned with your soul. Each of those moments demanded discomfort, and each of them carved growth into your life. Comfort convinces you to settle. Growth demands that you reach. Comfort says, stay here, you're safe. Growth says, step forward even if you tremble. Comfort protects your ego. Growth shatters it, then rebuilds it into something stronger. And here's the thing, comfort will never stop tempting you. It will always be there, waiting to lull you back into safety. But the longer you stay in it, the more restless you'll become. Because deep inside you know you were not built to stay the same. You were built to expand, to stretch, to transform. The discomfort you fear is the very soil where your future is planted. Every time you push beyond what is easy, you lay down roots in new territory. Every time you resist the pull of comfort and choose growth instead, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. And slowly, those choices compound. They create momentum. They carve out a life that feels alive, not just safe. Yes, growth is uncomfortable. It will bruise your ego, expose your fears, and test your limits. But discomfort does not destroy you. It reveals you. It shows you what you're made of. It pushes you to discover parts of yourself you never would have found in comfort. And once you taste that, once you feel the fire of growth burning inside you, comfort will never feel enough again. The question is simple, but it cuts deep. Will you choose to stay safe, or will you choose to live? Because a life built on comfort may protect you from failure, but it also robs you of transformation. A life built on growth will demand pain, risk, and uncertainty, but it will also give you something comfort never can, becoming the person you were meant to be. So when you feel discomfort, don't run from it. Lean into it. Let it stretch you, break you, rebuild you. Because that tension you feel is not punishment, it's possibility. That fear you feel is not weakness, it's proof you're stepping into new ground. And the life you dream of, the person you long to become, is waiting just beyond the walls of comfort. In the end, the choice is always yours. You can cling to the illusion of safety and remain the same, or you can step into the discomfort of growth and transform into everything you were meant to be. And when you do, when you finally choose growth over comfort, you will discover that the pain of stretching was never greater than the pain of staying small. There is a heaviness you carry that no one else can see. It lives in your chest, in the quiet spaces of your mind. It comes from the past, from mistakes that replay like broken records, from regrets that whisper if only, from people who once meant everything but now remain only as shadows. You tell yourself you've moved on, but you haven't. You're still gripping the memories, still holding on to the pain, still clutching the pieces of what used to be. And that weight, it doesn't just slow you down, it chains you. We hold on because we think it's strength. We think enduring the past is proof of loyalty, proof of love, proof that we're still human. But what if strength isn't holding on? What if true strength is the courage to release what no longer belongs in your hands? Letting go feels terrifying, doesn't it? It feels like betrayal. It feels like admitting that the people who left, the chances you missed, the mistakes you made, they will never be rewritten. Letting go feels like erasing a part of yourself. But here is the truth. You are not erasing. You are freeing. You are not losing. You are creating space. And in that space, something new, something alive, something worthy of your future can finally enter. You see, the past has claws. It clings to you, reminding you of every wrong turn, every broken bond, every time you weren't enough. And the more you hold on to it, the more it bleeds into your present. You repeat the same mistakes. You cling to the same patterns. You keep reaching for people who have already walked away. And each time you wonder why the future feels so far. The answer is simple. Your hands are too full of yesterday to grasp what tomorrow offers. Letting go is not weakness. It is an act of immense strength. It means looking at the memories that once defined you and choosing not to let them control you anymore. It means staring at the scar and saying, yes, it happened, yes, it hurt, but it does not own me now. It means unclenching your fists and trusting that what leaves was never meant to cage you forever. And when you finally release, you realize something extraordinary. The things you feared losing were never your foundation. They were stepping stones. People, opportunities, even mistakes. They all served their purpose. They taught you. They shaped you. But they were never meant to be carried forever. Some chapters end not because you failed, but because the story demands you move forward. Think about the times you held on too long, to a relationship that drained you, to a regret that haunted you, to a version of yourself that no longer exists. Holding on didn't heal you. It broke you even more. And yet, the moment you finally released, even if it shattered you at first, you began to breathe again. That breath was not weakness. It was the first taste of freedom. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you forget. It means you respect yourself enough to stop bleeding for something that no longer bleeds for you. It means you love yourself enough to step into the future, even if it means walking alone for a while. It means you trust that the space left behind will not remain empty. It will be filled with something better, something meant for you. And yes, it hurts. It always hurts. Letting go feels like losing a piece of your heart. But here's what you'll learn. Your heart grows back. It grows stronger, wiser, more alive. Every release makes room for something greater. Every goodbye becomes a doorway. Every scar becomes proof not of what you lost, but of what you survived. Strength is not found in clinging to what slipped away. Strength is found in opening your hands and trusting yourself to stand without it. Strength is refusing to let the past rob you of the present. Strength is realizing that you are worth more than the chains you've been dragging. And when you finally let go, you'll notice something, lightness. The heaviness in your chest begins to fade. The shadows lose their grip. The silence no longer mocks you, but embraces you. You begin to walk differently. You begin to breathe differently. And slowly you realize you did not lose yourself in the release. You found yourself in it. Because letting go is not the end of your story. It is the moment your story begins again. It's where you step out of the cage of regret and into the horizon of possibility. It's where you stop repeating yesterday and start creating tomorrow. So ask yourself, what are you still holding on to? The regret that poisons your present? The person who already chose to leave? The mistakes you've replayed 1,000 times? Whatever it is, know this. You cannot heal if you refuse to release. You cannot grow if you cling to what's already gone. Letting go is not a single act, it's a process. Some days you'll release with strength, other days you'll pick it back up again. But every time you choose release, you reclaim a little more of yourself. And with time, the weight that once chained you will no longer feel heavy. It will simply be a part of your past, a past that no longer dictates your future. One day you will look back at what you let go of and realize that it was never yours to keep. One day you will thank yourself for having the courage to release, because in that release you will discover the strength you've been searching for all along. So let the past go. Let the regrets fade. Let the people who no longer belong find their own path. And as you release, step boldly into the future waiting ahead. Because true strength is not in holding on, it's in letting go. There will come a time when life takes almost everything from you. Your body will ache. Your faith will tremble. Your willpower will be tested until it feels like there's nothing left. You'll face losses you didn't deserve, failures you didn't expect, storms you didn't ask for. And in those moments you will realize something: almost everything can be taken from you. Your health, your money, your relationships, your sense of stability. But there is one thing no one and nothing can strip away unless you allow it: your mindset. The mind is the battlefield no one sees. From the outside, people may think you're fine. They see you walking, breathing, functioning. But inside, you're waging war. Thoughts attack you. Doubts circle you. Fear claws at the edges of your hope. And yet, it is here, in this hidden place, that your greatest weapon is forged. Not in muscle, not in status, not in what you own, but in how you think. An unbreakable mindset is not something you're born with. It's not a gift handed to the lucky few. It's built, brick by brick, choice by choice, in the middle of hardship. It's built every time you face pain and refuse to let it define you. Every time you fall but stand again even when no one is watching. Every time you choose to believe there is meaning in the struggle even when you cannot see it yet. Building this kind of mindset hurts because it demands you confront your own weakness. It demands that you sit in the silence with your fears and not run. It demands that you carry yourself when no one else will. At first it feels impossible. The voices in your head will tell you you're not strong enough, that you'll never make it through. But the more you endure, the more you fight through, the quieter those voices become. And eventually what replaces them is a strength so steady, so unshakable, that even in your darkest hour you will know, I cannot be broken. Life will test you. It will try to convince you that you are powerless, that you are at the mercy of your circumstances, that you are only as strong as the weight you can lift or the money you can earn. But those things crumble. The body weakens. Fortunes change. People leave. What remains, what always remains, is the mind you have built in the fire. Think of the people who survive the unimaginable. They are not always the strongest physically. They are not always the most skilled. What they share is an inner steel, a refusal to let circumstances define their spirit. They walk through the storm and say, "You will not break me." That is the power of an unbreakable mindset. It allows you to stand even when the ground gives way beneath you. And you've tasted this before. Think back to the moments when you thought you couldn't go on, yet somehow you did. That wasn't luck. That was the resilience of your mind stepping in when your body was done. That was your unbreakable self showing you a glimpse of what you are capable of. And if you could survive those battles, you can build a mind that survives anything. But here's the truth. Building an unbreakable mindset requires struggle. You cannot develop it in comfort. You cannot build it in ease. Just as muscles only grow when they are torn and rebuilt, the mind only strengthens when it is tested. Every setback is an opportunity to forge resilience. Every hardship is a lesson in endurance. Every moment you choose not to surrender, you add another brick to the fortress inside you. Over time, something shifts. Fear no longer controls you, it informs you. Doubt no longer paralyzes you, it challenges you. Pain no longer defines you, it strengthens you. And while the world still throws storms your way, you no longer shatter under the weight of them. You bend, you endure, you rise. That is what it means to have an unbreakable mindset. And here's what makes it extraordinary. Once you build it, no one can take it. They can strip away your success, your possessions, your certainty, but the mind you have forged in adversity remains untouchable. That mindset becomes your compass in the dark, your armor in the storm, your weapon in the fight. This is why your greatest battles are never against other people. They are always against yourself, against the version of you that wants to quit, against the voice that says you can't, against the weakness that begs for comfort. Every time you defeat that version, every time you refuse to bow to it, you are building something no one can destroy. And one day, when life comes for you with all its chaos, you'll realize you're not the same person who used to crumble. You'll stand differently. You'll carry yourself differently. You'll meet adversity not with fear, but with fire. Because the storms will come, but you will know in your soul, the storms may shake me, but they cannot break me. So yes, life will test your body. It will test your faith. It will test your will. But when all else is stripped away, the one thing that remains is the mindset you've built. And if you've built it in the fire, if you've strengthened it in the storm, if you've chosen every day to rise instead of surrender, then you carry within you the greatest weapon you will ever own, an unbreakable mind. And when you finally realize that nothing, no loss, no failure, no storm can take that from you, you will walk through life unshaken. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger than anything it could throw at you. That is the power of building an unbreakable mindset. There are nights when you wonder if your pain has any meaning at all. You lie awake, staring into the dark, asking yourself why you had to endure so much, why life felt so heavy on your shoulders, why the storms never seemed to end. In those moments, survival feels small. You think, I made it through, but for what? What did all this suffering do except scar me? And yet what you don't always see is that your story, your survival, is not just about you. It never was. The hardships you've faced, the wounds you've carried, the nights you thought you wouldn't make it through, they all hold something larger than personal pain. They carry within them the power to ignite hope in someone else. Because when you speak of your survival, when you show your scars instead of hiding them, you give permission for others to believe they can endure too. Your legacy isn't carved in comfort. It's carved in struggle. And legacy doesn't mean monuments or fame. Legacy means the way your life touches others, the way your courage becomes a map for someone lost in their own storm. Legacy means someone you may never meet will rise because you chose not to stay down. It's easy to believe that survival is where the story ends. You fought, you endured, you made it through. But survival is not the end. It is the beginning of something greater. Because what you endured, if kept in silence, ends with you. But if shared, if offered to the world, it transforms. It becomes a light in the dark. It becomes a voice saying, I made it through, and so can you. Think about the stories that have carried you in your darkest times. Maybe it was a friend who told you about their struggle. Maybe it was a stranger whose resilience inspired you. Maybe it was a quiet memory of someone who kept going even when life broke them. Those stories planted seeds of hope in you. Seeds that reminded you survival was possible. And now, without realizing it, your story is capable of doing the same for someone else. But here's the truth. Sharing your journey takes courage. It's not easy to show the scars you've tried to cover. It's not easy to admit how deep the wounds once went. You fear being judged. You fear being misunderstood. You fear people will see your brokenness instead of your strength. Yet it's in the raw honesty of your story that its power lives. Because people don't connect with perfection. They connect with struggle. They connect with the truth that you bled, you cried, you fell apart, and you still rose. And that is where legacy is born. Not in what you endured, but in how your endurance becomes someone else's hope. You may think your story is too small to matter, that what you went through was nothing compared to others. But the size of the struggle doesn't define the size of the impact. Sometimes it's the smallest story, a whispered truth, a quiet act of survival that saves someone else's life. Legacy isn't about scale. It's about honesty. It's about showing up with your truth and letting it speak for itself. And as you do, something incredible happens. Your scars stop feeling like shame. They start to feel like symbols. They remind you not of what broke you, but of what shaped you. And in that shift, you discover that your pain was never wasted. Every hardship, every failure, every heartbreak, it all becomes part of the story you will leave behind. The truth is, you don't get to choose all the struggles you face, but you do get to choose what they mean. You can let them weigh you down, or you can let them lift someone else up. You can bury them in silence, or you can let them breathe light into someone else's darkness. That choice is what builds your legacy. Legacy is not something that begins when you die. It's being written right now in the way you live, in the way you rise, in the way you share. Every time you refuse to let your pain silence you, every time you offer your story as a hand to someone else, you are building something that will last long after the storm has passed. And one day you will look back and see that what you thought was meaningless suffering was actually the foundation of something extraordinary. You'll see how the people around you, the ones you love, the ones you may never even meet, were touched by the way you endured. You'll see how your story became part of theirs. And in that moment, you'll understand that legacy was never about survival alone. It was about the hope your survival gave to others. So when you think your scars make you weak, remember this: someone out there is waiting to see them. Someone is waiting to hear your story, to believe that if you could rise, so can they. And in that connection, in that ripple, your life becomes larger than your struggle. Your story is not just about survival. It's about the lives that are lifted because you chose not to stay down. It's about the way your scars teach others that pain does not define the end. It can become the beginning. So carry your scars with pride. Share your survival with honesty, because your legacy is not the pain itself. It is the hope that pain creates. And that hope, that gift you leave behind, is how your story will live beyond the struggle.